Hello everyone and welcome to another album review. I'm going to be looking at a record today what celebrates its 50th anniversary. Like it might not be like the exact day like I upload it, but like it is like 50 years this month since the release of this album, Days of Future Past by the Moody Blues. So this review was requested by my very good friend James Laubhan, who has a fantastic channel here on YouTube. So yes, I would recommend everyone go and subscribe to him. So yeah, like as I said, 50 years since this album came out, released on the 10th of November in 1967. So this was officially the Moody's second album, and they went in a very different direction from the first, because before this they were a bit of an R&B rock band. They had a big hit with a song called Go Now. However, they were struggling to repeat the success of that single. A couple of the members left, Denny Lane, probably most notably, and generally the band they were struggling, and by this point in time they were treated by the record label Decca basically as session musicians, and were asked were asked by Decca to perform and record an adaptation of a classical piece, to demonstrate new stereo recording technology. However, without the label's knowledge, they decided rather than record what they were asked to, they would use the orchestra, what was laid on the London Film Festival Orchestra, and conductor Peter Knight, they would actually record their own songs, their own little story for an album which they had devised. So the record itself is split up into 7 different segments supposed to represent different parts of the day, and that's basically the concept with this album. It just tells the story of a man's day. It is one of the earliest examples of a concept album, and also what would later be known as progressive rock. So as I said, released in 1967, it wasn't a major hit then. It certainly it done better than their previous singles had done. It got to number 27 in the UK albums chart, and it would peak at number 3 in the US, but that wasn't until a 1972 reissue, when prog was very much a established genre. So I'm now just going to show you my copy of it here. I believe this is a reissue, maybe from 1972. I'm not too sure, because I know the original one has a banner along the top, and this artwork it's a bit smaller on it. Great cover though, done by David Anstey, a very lovely sort of psychedelic painting, very in keeping with the times. Back of it there just looks like that, and inside it's just plain sleeve on the D-Ram Records label, which I believe this was the first record to be produced on this label here, which as I said was set up by Decca, to kind of showcase new recording technology, new stereo systems. Okay, so I'm now going to go over each of the album songs. It was a little bit tricky how I would sort of score these songs here, because it is officially 7 tracks, but within some songs you've got about 2 or 3 different different separate songs within them. So I've kind of tried to look at it per song, individually. So I think I've got about 9 scores which I'm going to give here. So the album kicks off with a piece called The Day Begins, which is a instrumental piece. It's kind of an overture for the album. It's got very nice orchestration on it. It has elements of many of the album's songs. Towards the end, I think the keyboardist Mike Pinder does a narration of a poem called Morning Glory. Was the name of the poem at the end of the song. I mean, it sounds a little bit I don't say pompous, but it's not really it's not really like my thing personally. Like it is like very very like characteristic like of like what would become like of like the prog genre. But like it is like a good way to start the album. Like it is like quite like a calming song, yeah. So The Day Begins, pretty good song there, I would say. You look around you, and then the next track starts called Dawn Is a Feeling, which has a very sort of similar flavour like to like the last one, like sort of like orchestration, like on it, like nice flutes, which gives it like this sort of like morning feel to it. Like however, like the song begins and like Justin Hayward, like who is a singer on this track, does a great vocal performance, like really like lovely like crooning like vocals from him. I love like a lot of like these tracks as well because you go in like different directions, like in like the middle eighth and like changing time signatures like as well, like something what would become like very characteristic like of like progressive rock. It also has a kind of like musical theatre like sort of like feel to it, this song like as well. So yeah, Dawn Is a Feeling, another pretty good track there. Third song in is called The Morning, which isn't one of my favourites like on the album. It is a little bit forgettable, this song, I have to say. Starts off like with like a sort of like a firm beat and like mellotron like splashes like throughout the song. Like it's very like intricate, like the instrumentation like on it. I'm not crazy though about the vocals like on this song. The singer on this track is John Lodge, who I believe was the bass player. Like I could be wrong there. Like, but like again, like that is one of like the other like notable things like about this record, and like also like the Moody Blues, like different like vocalists like as well. Like you don't get tired like of like one singer. But like unfortunately for me, like I'm not the biggest fan like of John Lodge's singing like on this track. And then the first side closes with Lunch Break, with a song called sort of Peak Hour. So it has a more sort of sprightly rush like about like this track here, like in rush about it like on like the introduction. It like rocks along like really good. Like it's got a great like a cappella section like in like the middle, what like really showcases like the band's like strong harmony vocals. So yeah, like overall a really good track there. Lunch Break would get a 9 out of 10. It doesn't matter to me, chasing the clouds. And then side 2 starts with possibly my favourite song like on the album, a song called Forever Afternoon Tuesday, which I'm giving a full 10 out of 10 to. I just love this song. I think it's very, very melodic. It is sung fantastically by Justin Hayward. Like I like the sort of like rhythmic shifts like in like the middle like as well. Like I mean like this song like doesn't get boring. This was later released like as a single, however like it failed to chart like in like the UK, which is like criminal because it is such a gorgeous track there, Tuesday Afternoon. And then also part of like the afternoon segment like on the album, like here's a song called Time to Get Away, which has a more sort of like mysterious like sort of like feel to it. This time though, like I do actually quite like John Lodge's vocals like on this. Like he does like some nice like falsetto like on it. The chorus like itself like is like pretty catchy. Like this is like quite like a psychedelic track, like quite like off its time as well. So yeah, like I do like really enjoy it. Time to Get Away, which would get an 8 out of 10. When the sun goes down and the clouds all frown. And then we get the evening segment on the album, which is like 2 tracks. Like first one called The Sunset, which is a more kind of low-key song. It's got this kind of like strange like Eastern like drumming like on it, like certainly like inspired like by like the Beatles, like Norwegian Wood, like Within You Without You, like those like kind of like songs, like this sort of like Indian like influence like on it. Quite like minimalistic, quite like atmospheric like as well. The song here lyrically isn't great. I mean like it's just sort of like when the sun goes down and there's nothing else around and that stuff like that. Like they are slightly forced the lyrics on this track, but no matter, like it is still a pretty good song there. So The Sunset would get a 7 out of 10. penultimate song is called Twilight Thai, which has a kind of very sort of strong like piano, like what powers the song along. Reminds me quite a bit of like the Who's track 515, like from like Quadrophenia, like years later. Years later, like although like, this one has a much more sort of trippier like feel to it. Like it isn't like my favourite song like on like the record. Like it is like a bit forgettable like beyond like the introduction like of it. Like to be honest with you, but still like, not a bad song there though. So Twilight Thai, a 7 out of 10.
Nights in white satin.
And then we close with the Moody Blues classic song, maybe their most popular song, like I'm not sure, like Nights in White Satin, which I'm giving a 10 out of 10 to. Just a really like beautiful song. Like I love like this album version particularly because you have got like the orchestra like on it like as well like as like the mellotron, which like beautifully like complements like the band. The chorus is just like absolutely soaring, like it's got like a brilliant like atmosphere to it. Again like sung like by Justin Hayward, like he was probably like the main like attraction like off like the Moody Blues, to be honest with you, like as far as I'm concerned, like his like vocals and like his songs like generally like are like the best tracks like on here. Apparently like he wrote this song like when like he was aged like only 19, which yeah, like incredible track there really. It was a single, like quite a successful single, like upon release it got to number 19 like in like the UK, like but like was like reissued years later and like would reach number 9 here like in like the UK and number 2 like over in like America. The album version though, like it does like go on a bit. It finishes like with like another like narration like from Mike Pinder, which like again like he just like reads out like I think like the same poem like what opened like the album, which it does like round off the album quite well. Like it gives like the impression that we have like come full circle. So yeah, like that is the album finished. And overall, it would score 81%. So yeah, it isn't my favourite album like from the 60s, like I'm not going to lie, but like I'm not like a massive fan like of like the Moody Blues. Like this is like the only one which like, I really like know well from them. I would say though, it certainly like was quite a revolutionary album. It was certainly one of the first examples like of like progressive rock, like with like kind of like very sort of complex song structures, like time signatures like within songs, like but it is done like very tastefully like on here. Like it is like on like a lot of like progressive rock, it is quite pleasing like to the ear, like this album, like it's done like very tastefully, and like I think that it really works. I mean, concept-wise, it is a little bit simple, maybe a bit forced, like in like places, like as well. Like, but it doesn't sound dated, really. Like, I mean, like it kind of does, but like then again, like it kind of has a sort of timeless quality, like as well, because it isn't like your typical like psychedelic album, because you have got like the strings like on it. Like it is like there is like something like about this record like what makes it hold up like even like 50 years later. So yes, I hope you have enjoyed this review. Like I would be interested to know what you think of this album down below in the comment section, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.
With his eyes before, just what we drew.